So I started this video and I said, oh my God, I don't know what I'm talking to Fuad about. And he said, start the video by saying you don't know what you're talking about. So hence, what just happened, right? So yes, I'm having a conversation today with Fuad.
Who doesn't know what he's doing with his life?
Who doesn't know what he's doing with his life? And we're going to pretty much talk about how he's like having all the big bucks, doing good at one awesome company, but then he says that he doesn't know what he's doing in his life. He did Zikoko, but he doesn't know what he's doing in his life. So hi Fuad, my name is Peace.
Where is this? So the problem with this big box reputation is that your big helpers are going to see you. I'm like, oh, he doesn't need help.
But you see now, see his body.
Is he become fat?
See the beard.
Are you fat shaming me?
No, I'm just saying that you look like you're enjoying life. See your beards.
Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm PC Timmy, a change maker, professional, and creative who is passionate about growing people and growing businesses. Like, comment, subscribe to my channel, and please always share my videos. It promises to always be impactful and insightful.
You left working in a media company,
Fair.
Zikoko, coming from Pulse, and you went into what people would think of as a different path, and you went into call growth at a tech company. It's kind of like similar, but it's also very different because Zikoko is really just it's an online platform, right? Where people read stuff, you guys do videos, but for now. But as we know it, it's not a tech product, as against now going to a consumer-led tech product. Like, yeah, like tell me about the transition and why you decided I wanted another change, and this is exactly what I'm going to do.
So like, I don't think there was any grand moment of I'm going to try something else, because what happened for the most part was there were a couple of interesting outcomes, right, of how things could have gone. Maybe another media company, maybe another part of media, something. But like, I think Eden was the direction that looks like I had no clue what was going to come up, what was going to be on the other side. I was like, well, let's see how it goes. It was purely curiosity. One of the things that determine how I move from like place to place. How I like places where I can be I feel like an amateur. Right? It's so ridiculous because on one end you're having meetings with the product team. You guys are talking about MPS and all those PMF and all those, and then like you're in the kitchen talking to a chef and people are talking about like taste profiles and umami. Do you know what umami is?
I don't know.
Google umami, UMAMI, right? And I'm talking about like life cycle of food, talking about nutritional facts, how many calories are in this amount of chicken, like, and the first thing that drew me to Eden was the people. It was just like all kinds of people, right? We have chefs, we have people thinking about logistics, we have devs, we have designers, and it's like in every aspect, these people are extremely obsessive about how they think about the work. I think you've definitely read Range. Range, David. David. I don't know if you remember the book. Yeah, Range. So Range is about it's a book where the fundamental idea in it is the concept of, I like to call it lateral mafia. Is what happens when you put people from all kinds of like disciplines and put them together to solve a problem. It's just all kinds of interesting things.
Yeah.
So I think joining Eden was primarily curiosity, right? It could have, I mean, growth, yeah, but it could have also been product. It could have been customer success. It was one of those cases where it's like, yeah, let me just be here first, and anything these people feel like I might be useful for.
You just
so yeah. Also like, because a lot of moving parts of growth naturally, like I was already familiar with some of it. It's like, yeah, we show up with as much curiosity and just pillage until we learn everything. So yeah, the single most important factor for me was it was the place where it felt like I was going to learn the most. I have a small distrust for spaces where I come off as an expert.
Why?
First of all, I'm young, right?
Yeah.
I don't feel like I have done anything long enough to be considered, and it's not humility, it's just common sense, right? because there's this mistake where people think it's not humility. It's like I don't feel like I've done anything long enough to be considered like an actual expert in these things. Think of the fact that we're all excited. We're what, in our 20s. I'm in my 20s too, right?
We don't believe for the sake of this video. Keep
So we're in our 20s, right? But like they are OGs in like their 40s, and they've been doing this thing for like way longer.
Yeah.
And it's like, why you for me? Why is person calling themselves experts? They're calling open your mouth and calling themselves experts. So I feel like there's just so much to learn, and like it just felt like the most sensible option long term. I like to think of jobs giving us a couple of specific things. So a job that does not give you like a serious learning curve. Like I will not
no matter how much.
a job that will not stretch you to help you build new muscle, I will not take it. Right. So yeah, that's how I like to think about it.
Amazing. So obviously, right, and I think you mentioned that a little bit. The work you're doing at Eden is very different from Zikoko.
Yes.
But in what ways do you experience the shock? Like, oh my God, this is what I'm doing now, and this is what I was doing before.
I think what fundamentally changed for me was when you've worked in media long enough. Even like when I was not doing, even outside my full-time job, whenever people wanted my opinion, and were willing to pay for it, right? And it tended to be around media, some marketing, all of that, right? And the reward for the bulk of our work was attention, right? You want people's attention, and people are trying to figure out how to get people's attention. Nice. But now, I need people to open their wallets, right? I need people to bring out their cards and transfer money or to make payments into something. And I'm now telling them that if you do this thing, I'm not going to fall your hand. And it just feels like a completely different ball game. Like the KPI has changed drastically from attention to money. Not like 500 naira, like a significant part of like your monthly financial commitment. I want it.
And you're saying, give me at once.
And I'm not going to disappoint you. Like it is. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot for everybody on the team. And it's like there's a thing where everybody starts the day with, who sent me a message? And everybody's like, well, don't
we're
do
here
it.
already.
Fuck it. Let's do this. So yeah, that's the biggest change for me.
And what did you learn? What would you say is the like 2 or 3 most important lessons you learned in media, in Zikoko particularly, that is transferable now at this totally different path?
I think first of all, if there's a specific thing at Zikoko that prepared me for this job, is writing Naira Life every week. So Naira Life was this series where I spoke to people about their finances, and they told me everything, right? They told me their weed budgets. They told me who they were dating just because of money, right? They told me how they were earning money. They told me how they were spending, what they were struggling with. And now it's like I'm at a job with some insight about how people think about money. I mean, I think I published 100, maybe spoke to slightly more, right? Enough women, enough men, I think 50-50 actually. And what that did was just, first of all, give me some insight into how people think about money. Then there's a fundamental thing that drives Zikoko, right? And fundamental thing that drives Zikoko is that people do not feel seen in Nigerian media, right? Media serves two optical purposes for society, right? It's a magnifying lens, right, to see things, and it's a mirror so that they can see themselves, right? In Nigerian media today, right, let's use film, right? It's a lot of lights. It's well made, right? Even when it is gritty in a film like Olotire, it is shiny, right? It is glossy. So what that does is that Nigerians do not see their authentic selves.
Yeah.
And you know when Nigerians see their authentic selves, where they are like, damn, Big Brother. And suddenly, when you think about it, it makes sense why Big Brother is so big. Big Brother is the only opportunity that Nigerians have to see other Nigerians on TV.
Yeah, the good and the bad.
Do you understand? Like Nigerian, and that's why it feels that you're wondering why people support some people. But it makes sense because they can see themselves. So Zikoko is fundamentally like, in a very small way, in its very small corner, not so small corner, but it's in like its own ways, trying to like put that mirror up for like society, like to see themselves, but not just even people, even not just the kinds of people are used to seeing. It's like all kinds of people, all kinds of communities and all of that. So taking that understanding of how people like to be seen into Eden is understanding how people think about their own problems, right? So for example, with Eden, we know that one of the fundamental things stopping people from using Eden is the conventions they're used to. It's like, oh, I already like do this myself, right? For example, with outsourcing chores, a lot of us grew up with the insecurities that we're either lazy or irresponsible. And suddenly you're an adult and you're having this guilt of, oh wait, if I outsource this thing, does this make me lazy?
Yeah.
But what it does is buy you more time. Like we forget that our parents outsource chores to who? Us.
Yeah. I mean, my mother asked me if I'm eating today and I'm like, no, I ordered food. She's like, you don't cook. And I'm like, but
Why don't you cook?
work.
Do you understand? It's like, why do we need to cook? Like, you still see some people say, yeah, I want a wife that can do X. I want a wife that can cook this, that can cook that, that can cook. Do you need a wife or do you need Eden life? Right? So it's like, but in most seriously, like you find that a lot of the things that we want to do, it's figuring out how to tell people that, oh yes, there's an alternative that makes you happier, right? Because
so it's like fundamentally changing people's belief and how they think.
Yes. So that part and understanding how it works, how people like think, that's the second thing. I think a third thing that I'm bringing along is just speaking to people as human beings. It sounds basic, right? But we know that when people talk to other people, like when businesses talk to people, there's a way businesses talk to people. At Eden, we don't want to talk to people the way businesses talk to people. We want to talk to people the way human beings talk to people. Because Eden fundamentally is like, oh yeah, you have many guys. You have a food guy, you have a laundry guy, you have a this, but Eden wants to be your one guy, and you want to talk to your one guy as your one guy, right? So that's fundamentally, I would say, a bunch of things that. Of course, there are other subtle things that I probably don't know, right? But those are the 3 things that immediately come to mind. Yeah.
So the first thing you spoke about was about money, and you said writing Naira Life, 100 episodes of Naira Life.
Yeah.
God damn it. Made you understand how people, especially Nigerians, think about money.
Yeah.
Can you share? Because I want to know how people think about money.
I think that a lot of how we think about money is shaped by it's very fluid, but it's shaped by our childhood experiences, right?
That's true.
And because it's shaped by our childhood experiences, it's also divided along gender lines, right? So for example now, we know that a lot of women, of course this is not empirical, but this is just what I've learned.
Yeah, just speaking to people.
So there might be biases there, right? So a lot of women, right, are entrepreneurs in Nigeria. Nigeria has more like women entrepreneurs than probably any other country in the world. There's someone start or something. But like it feels like women are entrepreneurs, but one reason why women are entrepreneurs is the same reason why women always want to have money. Women think of money as security, right? It's a tool. I mean, it's just purely security. It's like secure their families, secure themselves, protect themselves.
If man does any, kick him out of the
right?
house.
Do you understand? Like, but men think of money as leverage, like a kind of tool to like get them. Like, okay, you want something, use money to get it, or you want to use money to get it, or you want to do this thing, use. So you find that even when people are talking about their finances, men talk a lot about risk, right? It's about trying. It's like it just feels like our society has conditioned men such that you can go like all out. But like with women, when they have money, it is to protect and secure their bases. And so, for example, like why does a woman feel the need to quickly buy a car? It's not the same need as a man. A man wants to buy a car but a woman wants to buy a car because she's scared of Ubers, right? And like it's a couple of small things here and there. Back to how our childhood affects us. So I spoke to someone now, and he just kept obsessing about how he's making so much money, right? And he's just saving it for a future wife and kids, and he's saving so much money. He's like, and you're like, yeah, I live a little, but fam, this guy's father literally just came and told them he's not doing it again, and worked out on them. And then like there are a lot of people like that those things just like it just pops up a little. And another thing again is that it sounds very cheeky, but like your network really is your net worth, right? You find people that they simply earn more money because of their friends, because they know from their friends that they can earn more, right?
That's so true. I think that's fundamentally my experience.
Yeah.
That the more I meet people and just get exposed to certain circles, the more I realize that something is possible.
Yes.
And I was having a conversation with someone last week, and I'm like, to be very honest, where I am right now is a product of people I've met.
Yes.
Because 2 years, even a year down the line, because I did not meet some people then, I did not know that what I'm doing now is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So for example, it's like speaking to two designers immediately come to mind, right? The first designer, firstborn, has talent, right? When he shows up at uni, he's sketching on paper, sketching his designs on paper, all of that. The other person shows up at uni and like tells their parents that, oh yeah, like I'd like a computer, right? And they just send computer, and this person has time to play with their computer and be like, what else can I do with this computer? And they start learning design, right? And they start designing stuff, right? Meanwhile, this other person is still sketching on paper. By the time this other person gets to 400 level and they don't have a laptop, this one has been designing in school for like 4 years, right? And this other person, the reason why the other person gets a laptop is because someone sees them and says, you are so talented, take this crappy laptop, I dash you. And that was what's like changed their life, right? Now both of them enter the labor market. One of them is not living in Lagos, one is living in Lagos. The one that is not living in Lagos is firstborn of a family that the father is retired, so automatically he's the breadwinner, right? This one is like no dependables, just flex, try to be the best version of yourself. And they literally started around the same time, right? But because of like circumstances, like everything, it just completely like changed their trajectory. And it's so powerful how like very small moments, in some cases you see very small moments that just shapes the trajectory of someone's life. There's this guy, he was obsessed with being a lawyer in secondary school because whenever people were quarreling in class, they used to call him to come and settle fight, right? It was in Anambra, and after school, when it was time to write work, and his parents did not have 18K, right? And he's like, I'll go to the market and just hustle until it's time for them to pay. And he has been hustling since. Do you understand? Since like early 2000s, and that was literally how that. And like I think he works a security job now. But you just start to wonder. I know people say, it's very easy for people to say, oh, like why didn't he take hustle and pay for himself?
But it's very easy to get sucked into your environment.
Yes,
you just
very easy.
forget to dream or forget to hope or even forget what brought you there in the first place. Yeah, that's very
easy. So yeah, I think that our Naira lives, like our financial lives, is as much about where we are coming from, right? It's like where we are coming from, what we've been through. Some people are constantly anxious about money. Like they don't have money, they have no need for it, but like, and I found out a lot of women, it was something that kept coming up. It was hard to encounter guys that just said, oh, there's money in my account, it just makes me happy. I saw it more with like women, it's like, just check your alert, you just feel happy.
But it's true.
Do you understand?
I feel like I'm comparing whatever biases or data that you have.
So it's like,
but yeah.
But because it's primarily security.
You just do that whatever happens in life. I have some amount of money there, so I'm good for a couple
to keep you safe.
Yeah.
So Tohib is person writing the current Naira Life, and like we actually spoke about it. He published a piece, a couple of other things, but
amazing. So what made you start writing Naira Life at the beginning?
It's interesting. I started writing Naira Life in 2019, but it actually started in 2016.
Oh, okay.
Like the Naira Life thing. I was working at a job, and my job was to write original articles every day, 5. Just write 5 articles out of nowhere.
About anything?
Yes. And it was like, and people had to like it, right? So it was constantly trying to figure out how to make anything. And I think that was my most important job. This was after my first time at Pulse.
So you left Pulse and came back?
Yes. I left Pulse, then I came back. And it was party jollof, a failed experiment that was supposed to counter Zikoko. Loki. So it's like it's very interesting because that's my best job. That's one of my most important jobs because that was the job that was like, you know what, just do whatever you like and just make sure that it slaps. So that was what the job that stretched me creatively first. And there was a floating of the Naira that happened and in 2016, and it was like I didn't know what it was. Nobody knew what it was. They floated Naira. What is it, balloon, right? It was just random shit. Like, and I went on and asked my brother. My brother works in finance. I'm like, look, I need to explain this thing to me. Like I'm like 5 or 7, and my brother understood the assignment. And he broke it down for me. Then I now wrote it, and people were like, yo, I'll never forget that there were 2 articles people were reading about the flotation of Naira at the time. It was Double F's article and that article I read, and I was like, oh, so we are all idiots. So it was like, oh, we are all idiots. And I kept trying to write about money to understand. I remember the next thing I wrote that got attention was in mid-November, I wrote an MMM explainer. So just like, I was already back at Pulse then. I said, this is MMM, this is what it is, this is how it works. And I was like, oh yeah, if MMM is going to crash, it's going to crash before Christmas, right? People dragged me so much. That I was like, am I mad? Am I foolish? When it's crashed.
They came back.
No, when it's crashed. Like, I was like, oh, like I was. So basically, what it just felt for me was like, it felt like it was possible to write about finance or money and not be boring. So I started reading everybody, and that's basically how I am. I don't feel special. I feel like if I've thought about it, someone has probably thought about it before. So I started reading everything I could find about how people were writing about finance in interesting ways. Finimize, The Hustle, all those newsletters, and it's like nothing really happened, right? And I just kept soaking it in. And I always felt like if I ever worked on a media experiment by myself, I would do something about money. If I had a name, if I was calling Finantic, dead name. And when it was time for me to join Big Cabal, like with Zikoko, and I was like, it's like, oh yeah, we need to do this, that. I was like, oh, money. Do that. And so I kept trying to think of how would this work. I did not know what the format was going to be, right? So while I was trying to figure out, I was just trying all kinds of things. I remember I wrote a P. Also, Zikoko did not know what it was going to be at that time, 2018, right? So I just did a small experiment. I tracked all my finances for 3 months and I documented and I wrote about it. And people were like, yeah, me too. I was like, So it was just flipping. And one day, I showed up at the office on a Friday and I said, you guys, we're actually desperate. And she was just like, anything
that would slap.
Right? And I just was like, see, I'm going to publish an article on Sunday. I don't know what that article is, but I'm going to publish an article on Sunday. I was not hanging out with one of my guys and we just started talking about money. That's what we talk about all the time. How to make more. And he just started telling me about one bad business. I'm like, guy, you don't mind if I write about this thing? I said, yeah, I don't mind. As long as you don't put my name, okay. And then we now had this long conversation about it. And then now I had this long conversation recorded. I didn't know what to do with like the format. So I spent that weekend trying to shape the format. Read, there's one old article that someone shared in like 2016 that my mind always went back to. So I went back to that article. It's an Esquire article. I think it's Esquire, yes, Esquire. Went back to that article, read everybody that was doing any type of money confessional. So the article was supposed to drop on Sunday, not drop on Sunday. So I was like, perfect start to the week, Monday. And then people were like, oh wow, perfect time, bobo. And that was the first one published February. The first one I was published, actually I did not put my name on it.
Because you're not sure?
No, not that. I did not want it to have an author. I wanted it to just be like, like Zikoko's community. And then my boss was like, guy, put your name on that shit. Okay. And then every Monday since then, it's like, oh shit, are we going to publish this? Oh shit, are we going to
How
publish?
easy was it to get people to talk?
So, the fundamental ingredient that drives any form of this format, whether it's written, audio, video, is trust, right? The more a person trusts you, the more they will say, right?
I know what I'm trustworthy, guys.
The more the person trusts you, the more they will say, the more open they are. Like, there are a couple of factors, right? So first of all, naturally, you want to start with people that already trust you, right? The people that already trust you, when you treat their stories right, what that does is you now use it as your pitch to people that do not yet trust you. It's like, see what I did to people that like trust me. It's kind of like how you're raising money, you start from family and friends.
Yeah.
Right. And it just became a thing where I actually just put a link that, if you want to tell me about your Naira life, please reach out. And then people just flow. Like people, and I just turned it off, like, no, thank you. Right? Like people are reaching out from us everywhere, right? So it now became a thing where there was never really a shortage of who to talk to. It now became a thing for me of, I want to talk to this type of person. I want to talk to this type of person. For example, one of the people that I was looking for, I was going to go to Askamaya to go and actually make my pitch, was a sex worker. I so badly wanted to talk to a sex worker, but I did not. So that's like one of my regrets. I did not talk to a sex worker.
Amazing. So when I first knew about you was it the one at Pulse? Was the one at Pulse? The trip around Nigeria.
That shit is hilarious.
So Fuad did a trip across the 36 states in Nigeria when he was at Pulse. They went to Zikoko and did across all the countries in Africa.
In West Africa.
Yes. So just tell me about it.
Wild thing, right? So 2016, I think Anako took their staff to Bauchi. And they flew drone shots. I was like, oh my own go this place. And then I messaged my friends. That time I was not back at Pulse then. I messaged my friend and I said, you people clear out 1 week in December. We're all going to Bauchi. As I went back to Pulse, I know the program. I know that there's nothing like 1 week for me in December. Everybody works in December. Everybody works through Christmas. You're eating rice and you're working. And I don't know, something just crept in my head one time in November that it's like, what if I doesn't even travel around the country safe? What if I don't even say this work I'm not doing again? First option was to tell Osage that, you know what, I'm not doing your work again. Bye. Second option was I'm going to be gone for 2 months. When I get back, I want to still have a job. And third option was the one where it's like, oh yeah, I want to do this as a person that works at Pulse. Good for the brand, this, that.
Picture of that story.
And it was like fantastic. I'll never forget that day when it was like fantastic. And then we just started hustling brands that work with us. Got Samsung, got Access Bank, and I managed to scam my way.
Intentional, being sponsored.
And then in 2019, I just told Tomoa, my boss, that look, this is Jollof Road. We're going to do this thing. I don't know where you're going to find the money.
But it will happen.
But we need to enter straight. And then Tomoa and Chidi was our head of business, beast. Like, money came out, they got us boss, got us a pilot, and we traveled. So it was for me figuring out how to get what I wanted and keep everybody happy. Right? I did, like, even when I travel alone, it tends not to be the things that I have to like explore for work. I tend not to always be the things I care about personally. But it felt like a decent, like, meet me halfway thing. But yeah, it was purely I'm obsessed with like moving, right? And it was an opportunity to do it without losing my safety net, which was my job, right? Although now I have this, like, my current obsession right now is figuring out how to get to Cape Town with a bike. I don't know how. I don't know how to ride a bike. Yes, I don't know how to ride a bike. Yes.
Like from Lagos.
It's possible. It's very possible.
How long did it take?
Can do it in like 30 days.
With a bike?
Yes.
Okay.
But this is the first time I'm saying it publicly, actually.
Okay. I mean, well, we're just going to wait because most likely we'll do it and get another brand to sponsor it.
Right now, I'd rather travel broke than get a brand. Brands are hectic.
Why?
KPIs, you know now. You know as
You have to do everything.
KPIs, matrix, use hashtag. You know. I really just felt like in both cases, I was lucky. I was extremely lucky because I'll never forget the first time I told Osage, and I was like, it was December 31st, 2016, I was like, he was like, yeah, but we need to figure out how a way that we'll do it well, so that the company is not going to lose too much money and we have people that will just, okay, I got you. January 18, like the following January, I just showed up with this long itinerary. And it was like fun. So I was like, yeah, nice. But how are we going to? I showed up with all the possible brand plugs. It was like fantastic. We're doing this shit. And then and we did it, right? Tomoa, I just thought I was going to look for money. I don't care.
I mean, you've done it before, so proof of concept.
Tomoa is looking for the money, and we traveled. Tomoa and Chidi, shout out to Chidi. Yeah, it's those business people that you don't see doing the back end stuff. But yeah, that was mostly it for me. And I think that the best things about Shy Post Ethics was just expanding completely expanding what Nigeria meant. It was expanding what even reality meant, because it's so easy. Lagosians are like Americans, right? I think the center of the world is where we are, right? You know, you've lived outside Lagos, so you know what I'm talking about.
It's so different.
Yeah. It's like people making noise, for example, that, oh yeah, bomb Sambisa, but Sambisa is like 5 times bigger than Lagos, right? People actually like live in communities seeing all of that, seeing all the things I used to read in the news, like in real life, was a lot. Yeah, so I love traveling. I definitely love traveling. I want to travel more on my dime.
What would you say is the most what's the word I'm looking for? The most phenomenal or pivotal experience you had while working at Zikoko? That wasn't jollof food.
No, it wasn't. Jollof food was not the most pivotal. It wasn't. Not for me. It probably was for the other people on the team that traveled, but because I don't post at 6, it was not that pivotal for me, like as a person. But I think the most pivotal thing for me, it's a couple of things. So I like to describe my time at Zikoko with specific people. The first thing that made Zikoko feel possible for me was when I convinced Toki to join. And I was like, Toki, just give me. Toki, what do you want to travel with? Just give me 1 year. We'll figure it out. Just give me let's give this thing like 1 year, let's see how it goes. And she agreed. She was like, hey, fuck it. So that was a big deal for me. The second thing was...
And why exactly?
When I was joining Zikoko was going through a transition. So it was ground zero, right? There were some management changes that were happening, and so it was like ground zero. It was like building the team from scratch, right? I'd never built a team from scratch, right? So I'll just never forget the fact that there was nobody, there was nothing, there was no plan. We didn't know what Zikoko was going to be. We didn't know what people were going to care about, and Toki was like, yeah, and she just got on board. It was harder for her to. Her own was more interesting for me because I feel like she could have gotten anywhere else. Like Koti was one of the most important people we hired when Zikoko was like taking shape. But Koti was at a place where she was going to try anything, like fresh out of uni, that kind of thing. She was out of uni this week. Let us come and join like next week, that kind of thing. Then the next pivotal thing for me was Naira Life, right? Because we're trying to crack a format or an offering that people could come to Zikoko for, right? Just to basically reignite. And so from Naira Life, we had a ton of formats. So that was very significant. And the third most important thing for me was Okpe joining the team. Yeah, I don't know if you know Okpe. I didn't know. Yeah. So when Okpe joined, whenever people ask me, I always describe it like this. Did you watch Blacklist? Okpe is Mr. Kaplan. Did you watch Narcos?
No, I didn't.
Did you watch Narcos? Okpe is Gustavo. You know what happened when Gustavo was out of the picture? Like, Pablo fell apart, right?
So the fixer.
Yes. Okpe is the person that knows where all the bodies are buried. That finds it and knows where they are buried. Okpe is the person that just makes everything happen, right? So it was very easy for me to just be saying, let's be tinkering. Once you crack something, Okpe is the one that would like put a system around it and everything and all of that. So that was like the third most important thing. So because Okpe joined, someone like Daniel joining, Daniel could now thrive. Do you understand? Like, and Daniel just came and it was just like Daniel is a beast. And Daniel's one is interesting because like I had understudied Daniel. Do you understand? I understudied Daniel as far back as like 2015, 2016. I was on that. You don't understand? Like, let me explain my understudy. It's like it got so serious that I found a friend inside Zikoko den, and I'll literally just read something Daniel wrote and I'll be like, Daniel's having a bad day, right? She's like, yes, he looks so stressed. I'm like, yeah, he should. Right, that's how much I understudied Daniel. So it was not like, oh, I'm now on the same side of the curtain with Daniel, beast. So yeah, I'd say that it's hard to find a pivotal moment, but there were people that
made things happen for you.
Yeah, that made things happen for all of us, right? And what now happened was those people now in a way drew other people out, right? I'd say that as per hiring, success rate with people we hire at Zikoko especially is at least 95%. Like we hardly ever run into flukes at Zikoko level. Like, this person scammed us, right? So yeah, that's a big deal for me. Yeah, I feel like if you want to hire people, if you're trying to look for people to hire, right, just go and observe Zikoko people. And like, Tech About is just getting warmed up. The new Tech About is just getting warmed up. Those guys are about to become something else. So yeah, I'd say it was mostly the people for me. Yeah, they made it happen. Again, this is not like one of those humble. There's like I have data. Like I have data to back up what I'm saying. So it was always extremely comfortable when people were like, oh yeah, you're really amazing. No. Have you seen Daniel? Have you seen Okwe? Have you seen Toki? Like Toki literally just showed up one day with footage and said she wants to do a show called Versus. She's not briefed me. I would never have thought of a Versus. I'd probably have thought of like a food. Food was discovered in something. Toki is like, nah, I want to enjoy. Give me a budget. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's I'd say that was it. But by last year, a lot of my attention was now stretching beyond just the Zikoko, Tech About, all of that. But yeah, I'd say most of my time there was with Zikoko.
Amazing. And so this is my final question.
Yeah.
What is if you're going to mentor someone today who's just like, I'm trying to figure out my career as a writer, as a good person, I'm just straight out of school, I'm coming out of school next year. What is that one or two career advice that you can put hashtag not career advice, yeah? But if you're going to like mentor someone young who has potential, but they just don't know how to get in and figure it out, and like maybe if I learn from somebody, I could not make a few mistakes. What would you tell them?
I mean, because I've been there before, I'd say that if you're lucky, you're going to find something fast. If you're lucky, right? Statistically, if you're in Nigeria, you won't be lucky. Right?
Tito is like, oh boy.
Because, I mean, unemployment is 3%, right? So if you're in Nigeria...
For context, he's coming out of school in like 18 months.
So
he's like...
Like, you're already on track. Like, you already have your shit together. How old are you? 20. When I was 20, my life was falling apart. I'm not exaggerating. Like, when I was 20, I was looking for recycling factories. I was like, can I bring you plastics? Do you understand? Like, but I find that something that always helps is, like, you can't afford to allow yourself be idle. Because what will just happen is, like, life will just suck you in. Me and one of my guys, I remember when we were telling ourselves that we're living in Ikorodu, right? We're living in Ikorodu. And there's a thing about Ikorodu that when you want to go out, when you think of the traffic, you just off your clothes. You just off your clothes. And you just realize that you've off your clothes for 1 year. Do you understand? And we moved out. He moved out. He went to stay with his cousin. Was sleeping on the floor, right? Like I was staying with my brother, and suddenly you are closer to the action, right? You want to be around people that are doing things, because whether we like it or not, whether as much as we like to think we are special, we are not. We are literally a consequence of the people that we interact with. So you want to interact with people that are doing interesting things, whatever it is, because it will just force you to try things and try things and try things. But you can't stop trying things. Like there's no, like I say before that, oh yeah, the first thing you want to do as a person is when you leave school, just keep your certificate in a very dark place and ask yourself, what am I beyond the certificate? But now I'm like, okay, whatever inside that certificate, how can you leverage it? Not as a minimum requirement, actually, not even as a it's like, what are even the skills that I've gotten from like this degree that I can apply in other places, right? So people, for example, that study mathematics are going to inevitably do well in data science, right? Because like the frameworks and the mental models they learn studying mathematics is going to like be applicable, right? So yeah, I think that people just need to actively try something, figure out how to expand their horizon and continue to try things.
Yeah, and that's like spot on. Whenever anybody asks me to, I always say like my advice to young people is just explore. Like you're not gonna figure shit out in a day or in a year.
Fam, I'm not figured anything out.
You get?
I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I know it sounds like something people say, but I'm just winging it, right? Everybody at my company, like even the leadership, we're literally just, what are the things we know? Like, oh yeah,
let's just find a way to apply. If you click.
Do you understand? So it's just, everybody they rough farm. Everybody they Google something. Everybody. Now all of us. So yeah, you might as well try. And I think as well we end the video, just try, explore. Be deliberate about just expanding your horizon. I think that's like the one key thing I'm taking away, because even when Fuad was talking about money and just how things shape our life and how we approach money, it was still just a thing about your experiences, your people, your network, your environment. So whatever you can do, you want to get a better job, you want to start a career, just get yourself in good environments and explore, and maybe you'll work out, but also maybe you won't. But you would have tried.
But you'd have tried.
Yeah.
And you definitely would have learned something along the way.
Bruh.
Yeah, awesome. So thank you guys for watching this video to the end. Make sure that you don't leave this channel without subscribing. Follow Fuad on Twitter at...
Like button.
Like button. That's your new handle.
No, like button. Your
no,
like button.
I'm saying your handle first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Fuad XIV.
Yes.
FUAD XIV.
Yes, that's what he said.
And when they give me the hot tip button, please send me money too.
Yes. All right, guys. So thank you. Subscribe, and of course, like, share, comment. Peace out.
It's going to be here, right? The like button. No, like button is going to be on this side.
It's going to be somewhere there.
Yes, here.
You don't do YouTube, Taya.
Like.
All right, guys. Peace.